Huh? Who would have ever thought that NFL DBs in your own blankets at home are more common than we ever thought that they would be? They both need a cover when we need them to cover up things, to hide up our weaknesses. They also are necessities of our lifetime as we go on our lot of life and we need to call things the end of the day. What also falls in this category is stranded islands. Now you're probably thinking, how the hell does a stranded island falls in this category? Well, on an island that's stranded, you don't have any help. You're all by yourself, and it's simply you have to figure out what's your next move as far as how you're going to get out of this situation. Just like on the field when it's man-to-man defense.
Island boy, I'ma keep it like an island boy. I'ma keep it like it's Jaquan. Boy, you better really keep that gun. I'ma keep it like I'm up in the sun. I've been really at your food gazing. I'm like, boy, what you really saying? I told him I would pull up like a Super Saiyan. I'm tryna be out the greatest. Hey, look, I'm an island boy with my vest on like a Guamamang. Yeah. I'ma keep it like an island boy. I'ma keep it like you two old gun.
What's up, everybody? It's yours truly, Man Myth Legend, Honcho Day the Don, back in the building. If this is your first time to the channel, please like and subscribe at the bottom of the page. And once you're at it, please don't forget to drop a comment at the bottom of the page. Also, I'm not here to discriminate what you gotta say, so please say what you gotta say. In this year's class, we got some of the best athletes playing in the secondary. That's going to be sitting on the island as an island boy. And we got some of the best hard-hitting nose safeties that's coming in this class also in the 2022 NFL draft members. It's going to be an exciting class as far as breaking down who these guys are. As we know it, in today's world, it's a passing league. And just like pass rushers, you can never have too many guys that's covering the best receivers in the galaxy. The athletes that are in this class in the secondary are pretty phenomenal if you ask me. It's going to be one of the best ones that we're going to remember, I believe, in the next 4 or 5 years from now, as far as who stands out in the bunch. Guys can just play all over the field. Multiple guys that can play versatile in multiple spots on the field and not just on one particular spot. So you always like to see that as far as who deserves the bigger bucks on the field when it's time to compete against other guys. But that's enough chit chat for me as far as what I got going on for you guys. So please don't forget to drop a comment of who you think stands out in a bunch and who you would like on your team as far as who's the best fit for what you guys got going on. Currently, as everybody's trying to improve their unit on both sides of the ball, and everybody needs at least one guy that's going to shut down their best guy on the opposite side of the field. So please, like I said, don't forget to drop a comment, and here we go. So the first prospect that we're starting with is Stingley from the LSU Tigers. He's been a standout for quite some time, the last couple years now. He's a former champion for the LSU Tigers, and I want you to be able to see his break on this zone that he makes on this receiver on the far right side on the boundary. As he sees the ball in the air, he uses his hips and his feet, of course, to break on the ball and use his athletic ability to pounce on the receiver and cause an incompletion. And here he is on the right side, mimicking the receiver once again on a man-to-man look. It looks like the defense is running a cover one robber, so the safety down the middle is picking a double team where he goes. And obviously he's going to trust Stingley with his assignment as far as man-to-man. As you see, the receiver runs about a 10 and out of trying to get open, but I mean, Stingley doesn't let it happen, break it with him. All right, so don't get it twisted. Stingley doesn't mind coming up, putting his hands on receivers on man press coverage. I consider him feisty and an uber competitor. As you see on this receiver here, he's trying to make a break and release, trying to get open. He eventually runs into his own teammate to mess up his route. There's not a lot of guys that can do this as far as in the NFL, that he can impact 2 receivers in one play to limit the quarterback resources to possibly go somewhere else different or possibly take a cover sack. So in this last clip here, I think this is one of his better clips as you see on this film here, to be honest, if you ask me, to show off his athletic ability in the intermediate game. So he sits on top of the receiver here at the beginning of the route, and you would think that he's going to jam the receiver playing man press. That's not the case, so you would think, what is he going to do? So the receiver gets a free release in which he's trying to manipulates Stingley to make it seem like he's running the vertical eventually. But by 5 yards into the route, Stingley is jamming him into his chest, in which once he sells the idea that he's going vertical, he wants to sell the idea to get Stingley's hips turned to run at his full speed. But once he makes his break on his hitch, Stingley does the same exact thing that he does, sitting right on top of him. I'm going to let my man David say the best, because, I mean, he's really doing this at a crazy level.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, tell me, mirror, what is wrong?
Worry about Stingley if he cares about more of the brand than the football game itself, but I don't think that's the case, and along with his ankle injury, but there's not too many flaws in his game. He's truly one of those guys. So the next corner that we do have on the board is from the University of Cincinnati, Sauce Gardner, and yes, this man plays with plenty of sauce. Probably the best man-to-man press corner in college football coming out of this class. He's not afraid to get his hands on any of the best receivers in the game to redirect them like he's doing on this first clip here. So with his 6'3" frame, there's some questions of what can he do as far as breaking down and using his hips on running across the field, in which I wanted to drop this clip here as he runs across the field coming from the bottom of the page here with the receiver running a drag route. As you see, Sauce has to use his speed to catch back up with the receiver to make a break on the ball, in which that's what he does here. So that's a good sign to show that it's going to translate with his frame being 6'3" with the long arms, that he can make plays on the ball going across the middle of the field. As far as a weakness in Sauce Gardner's game, as he sits here on the bottom of the page on the left side, the receiver runs a drag route right in front of his face, and it looks like the Bearcats on defense is running a cover 2 or tempo 2 look, in which Sauce just goes automatically to his zone without sensing that the receiver could possibly go inside of him without jamming him or anything. You see him point to let his guys know that he's coming across the middle, but there's a couple times that I found on the tape of him having early exits on zones, in which he could always be better as far as having a good awareness and being better about situational football on what could possibly happen around him. Luckily, the quarterback doesn't go to the receiver in this direction run the drag as he sits wide open and he goes somewhere else, but it's just something to think about when you see his game. So another weakness that I found in Sauce Gardner's game is just like you see in this clip here with him sitting on the boundary with the receiver. Any receiver that's 6'3", plays man press coverage, they're going to be bound to be grabby eventually with one of the best receivers, in which this receiver hits him with a double move, and ultimately he is running open. The quarterback misses him on the throw, in which we know on the next level, the best of the best is going to make these throws. So Sauce is going to have to work on his hands as far as being grabby with guys, because I mean, it seems like the referees was giving him the benefit of the doubt to be generous to a certain point, because this is a corner that hasn't let anybody score on him in the last 3 or 4 years of college football in his whole career. Unanimous first team All-American. He's highly decorated as far as his career, but you know, once you get to the next level, it doesn't matter about that anymore. It's all about what you do in the future. Sauce Gardner could easily be the best corner coming out of this class and the first corner select on the board, and yes, he has.
That's too much, son.
So the next corner that we're going to be looking at is Tripp McDuffie from the University of Washington. It looks like on this first clip here, it looks like they're running about a cover 3 or cover 4 look, in which that's playing the deepest of deepest in the boundaries, in which Tripp McDuffie does that here, but he also plays it all the way to the sticks of the first down. So when the receiver breaks at the sticks, he makes a play on the ball himself, and he's able to cause an incompletion himself. So Tripp McDuffie's knock coming out of this year's draft is his ability to play man-to-man and man press, in which I wanted to show a clip here in which I feel like that's being undervalued. I feel like he's not that bad as people make it to seem. He fights with the receiver here at the line of scrimmage, doesn't give up an inch, and once the receiver wants to run inside of him on the drag, he sits right on top of his hip, and the quarterback goes elsewhere with it to let him know that, bro, you're not open. Once again, I wanted to show off his ability to play against man-to-man defense, in which you're able to see eventually in the receiver's route, he's able to jam the receiver up to maneuver him just a tad bit, in which you always want to see that as far as in the corner on what they can do with receivers to make them do some stuff that they don't want to do when they first come out they break. I truly feel like this is being undervalued, because I mean they just made it seem like he just can't play man-to-man at all, but you're seeing it right here on this clip. The quarterback doesn't even look his direction as far as a possible option, so that tells me enough that, you know, Tripp McDuffie has enough fear in quarterbacks to not make him go his direction. At the end, I think Tripp McDuffie becomes a better pro than what you think. And as far as a comparison, I came up with a luxury PJ Williams or a Byron Murphy from the Cardinals. The next prospect that we're going to talk about is a safety from the University of Pitt State, senior Jaquan Bolder. He played 2 years at Pitt State. He played his first 2 years in JUCO ball, but we can get to that later. But I feel like he's one of the better players in the secondary as far as situational football. He just knows how to react to certain moments to simply put the team in a better situation, in which he seems like a great leader as far as for your defense in the future. But as you see on the first play, he was able to run a cover one robber, at which he was able to make a big play there, which ultimately won him the football game in the first clip. And then in that second clip there, you see that he was manned up with the man in the slot, was able to react after the receiver broke inside. And as he kept his eyes open, the ball was on the ground, and it was see ball, get ball action at that point, and the ball was his, and he was able to capitalize and give his team. And then on this last play, once again, it looks like they're running a cover one look with man-to-man defense all over the board, and he picked his moment of where he was going to go, and see ball, get ball action once again. He was able to get the interception and the turnover. Like, this guy's a turnover magnet. So the comparison I came up for Bolder was Harrison Smith and Justin Reed. In his earlier years in high school, he was going through a deep depression for losing his big brother from passing away in a tragedy, in which his grades ended up taking a decline at that moment, and that's the only reason why he ended up playing JUCO ball his first 2 years. But he's always been a Division I talent. He just had a little bit of a hiccup, and hopefully he can get over his demons as far as losing his brother. So the next player that we have up is the reigning Defensive Player of the Year for the Big 12 Conference, Jalen Pitre for the University of Baylor. Now, it seems like this guy has pretty much came out of left field, but this guy has been making tons of noise these last couple weeks as far as trending up. He plays safety and slash slot corner in the nickel defense, but he doesn't have too much experience as far as playing the deepest of deep safeties. So playing anything like 30 yards down the field, he doesn't have a lot of tape on that really. But I'm not really worried about that because his ball skills speak for itself. But he might just be better around the line of scrimmage, as you see here. He's making a play about 50 yards sideline to sideline here, and that's no problem for him. To be honest, this is kind of like Honey Badger-esque, if you ask me. It's not too many guys that's willing to make a tackle that's a secondary member, alone making a backside tackle. This next play here, Jalen is lined up in the slot once again to the strength side of where the trips is. So he's trying to figure out what they could possibly be doing as far as a offensive scheme play. So he's identifying the numbers, and what this automatically is going to be a wide receiver screen, and he's able to shed multiple blocks and get in the backfield and cause a tackle for a loss here. It's not too many guys that's making tackles in the backfield in general as an athlete, let alone secondary member like this coming downhill. Jalen Pitre records 17.5 tackles for a loss as a secondary member, which is pretty unheard of, to be honest. And then on this next play here, he's on the left side, and yes, you are seeing this right. He is lined up at defensive end. This kid's versatility, I told you, there's plenty of guys that's versatile in this class in the secondary, and this guy has no problem playing on the line of scrimmage. The tight end comes out and try to reach block him. He fights the tight end on the line of scrimmage, not giving up an inch at all, and then he sheds the block inside. And who's inside? It's the good old running back of Jalen Pitre making another tackle for a loss in the backfield. And then here goes another clip of Pitre once again going sideline to sideline. The receiver was motioning over, and he had the motion over with the receiver because it was man-to-man defense, as you see. Clearly, if he's following the receiver wherever he goes, quarterback tries to quick snap and give it to the receiver in a flat to make a quick first down, and Jalen Petrie just once again not gives up another inch on a short game here. So over time, Petrie would just have to prove that he has deep ball skills to be able to track the ball when the ball is thrown deep. But other than that, I think this kid has a lot of talent to bring to the table. I think he is the honey badger all over again, if you ask me. I think for a team like the Cowboys or the Seahawks, he'll be great for. But time will tell as far as who he's going to land with in the future. Next prospect that we have on the board here is cornerback from the University of Florida, Kyra Elam. He's wearing the better man-to-man corners coming out in this year's class, in which, as you see here, he shows his patience lined up against Jameis Williams, who's going to be a first-round pick this year, run the hitch. So everyone this year in college football knew that Bryce Young and John Minchie's chemistry was pretty much magic. So Kyra Elam did everything in his power to make sure that he was able to get his hands on the ball when John Minchie had a free release to run his slant here. Kyra Elam does a good job as far as catching back up and playing with his hands and playing with his eyes also to recover. And before we know it, the ball's in the air, he's able to knock it down for an incompletion. So this time around, he's lined up in a slot, and he wasn't usually asked to line up in a slot throughout his career, but he's not afraid to be a competitor and line up with the best of the best. So he's lined up here, and he's playing like a man zone look, in which he's waiting pretty much to see what the receiver is going to do in the slot to bring up his action ultimately, in which the receiver just comes up and runs a curl right in front of his face, and he's able to break. So here we go, we got another rep inside the slot here. Not too many reps to look at inside of the position that he's at, but here we are with the tape that we have. This is going to be a cover one robber look, in which he's able to get a double team from his safety help that's going to come help him on the opposite side here. And receivers trying to get vertical to run as far as possible to create a big play. And Bryce Young lets it rip, and ultimately it's an incompletion. There's nothing there to prevent anything huge. With Kyra's size, long arms, and having a sibling in the past being in the NFL, that should benefit a lot for Elam's young career to get started with his uber competitive ability to compete with some of the best receivers that he has in his young career so far. So as far as a comparison, I came up with Jalen Johnson from the Chicago Bears. The next player that I wanted to bring up here is Michigan safety Daxton Hill. Daxton Hill was tremendous for Jim Harbaugh this year. Coming from a coach that's coming from an NFL pedigree is always huge, and I think Daxton Hill is going to benefit tremendously from that. But as you see in this clip here, he's down there in the trenches working off a block, engaging the block, and doing everything he can to fight off the lineman to make a play on the running back to make a tackle with his teammate. The next play here, he's lined up inside the numbers once again, man to man with the tight end here, in which usually tight ends are way bigger than secondary members. But I like the sound of here of seeing that he can hold his own against a man-to-man coverage assignment against a guy that's as big. But long story short, he's able to make a play on the ball, break the ball up in the air, and keep his concentration on the ball there, and was able to come up with the play and make an interception. And then here's another clip of Daxton working towards the boundary here for the most part. It's going to be a wide receiver screen, and he's going to be able to shed a couple blocks, square himself up, and make a tackle in the backfield. I know this is our second time seeing somebody make a play like this, but I promise it's not a lot of guys that's going to be able to make plays like this on a consistent level. So don't take it for granted what you're seeing from Daxton Hill from here. So the next play here, you see Daxton Hill line up in the slot, in which nobody was able to get open on this broken play, so the quarterback had to go to his last resort, which was his legs of using his mobility. And what you like to see from your secondary members is coming down with a great pursuit to be ready to make a play as far as a tackle, and also come at great angles, because if you take one piss poor angle, honestly, for any great ball carrier, they're going to be able to break tackles and make you look silly and put you on the highlight reel, honestly. So you like to see that from Daxton Hill here, as he's able to break down to make a play. As far as for a weakness for Daxton Hill, his size will come up as far as being in this category, being about 6 foot and 195 pounds, and then he can always be better as far as recognizing plays faster in situational football. But other than that, as far as for his comparison, the traits that I saw with him around the line of scrimmage closest to the ball as possible was a light version of the honey badger, in which that's what the honey badger has made the most money for, is around the line of scrimmage. So the next prospect that I'm going to talk about is a junior from the University of Clemson. His name is Andrew Booth Jr. This kid has probably, if not the best vertical, one of the best verticals in the whole class, probably a top 5, to be honest, if you ask me. He's able to display on his first play here, playing man coverage against the receiver on the boundary. The quarterback is trying to go for 6 points and try to put a touchdown on the board to put some momentum on his side, in which Andrew Booth wasn't having any of it at all. Displaying his vertical, going straight up in the air and just simply one-handed grabbing it and saying, forget the 6 points, we're going for a turnover at this point. Once again, Andrew Booth showing off his athletic ability with his vertical, going straight up, batting his ball down when the receivers run the vertical route once again. Looks identical from the last play, but this is a whole different game from a different team, in which he just makes it looks like the same result for the most part. He's very consistent of showing his athletic ability all over the tape once you break him down. This secondary group, as we've been getting up to this point, is pretty ridiculous. As you see, Andrew Booth is going to be somewhere around mid first round, if not late first round pick, as crazy as that sounds. So this kid's athletic ability can just simply take over one side of the field, as you see here, and I mean, it's something that every team needs around these days. Once again, on the left side of the field, at the bottom of the page, playing some man-to-man defense out on the boundary. Looks like the receiver was trying to run some type of curl or maybe a comeback on the play. But Andrew Booth doesn't give up an inch as far as separation, not broken off by any releases or any stem movements from the receiver, just right on top of him. And as the ball hits the air, he's able to get his eyes on the ball and break on the ball better than the receiver. Looks like it's a pass interference on the receiver, if you ask me. As far as for a comparison, I came up with Janoris Jackrabbit Jenkins for Andrew Booth Jr. today. Just like Jenkins, Jenkins was a young stud corner once upon a time that was very intriguing, showing the ability to play man-to-man defense, covering the best receivers that's in the game currently, all the way up until this point that's in his 30s now. But I see a lot of similarities in Andrew Booth's game, and as far as for his zone coverage ability, I feel like that's something that he's going to get better and better with as over time comes, because his athletic ability allows him to break on the ball instantly and sudden in the intermediate game with like drags, slants, curls, and etc. etc. So I don't think it's going to take too long for Andrew Booth to thrive on any defense. It doesn't matter if it's man or zone. I think he's going to be able to fit the mold on whatever the team needs him to do currently. So that brings us to the end of our video today about who's the best of the best as far as the NFL secondary members of the 2022 NFL class. There's plenty to like, love, hate, and criticize as far as what I brought up today. This is one of the deepest groups, one of the most versatile groups in the whole draft. So please, at your earliest convenience, hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and also drop a comment on who you think fits best as far as your team's needs in the pass defense, because everybody needs the elite of the elite. Once again, I'm yours truly, Man Myth Legend, here at When and Where, and I'll see you here next time.